Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that the video is going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine, as you can see. Kisumu is fantastic, and maybe you could also let me know where you are watching the video from, the county or the country, in case you are out of the republic. Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua is horrified, and Rigathi Gachagua is in panic mode because his allies are in serious danger. Earlier today, the Director of Public Prosecution approved charges against his 5 allies. According to the Director of Public Prosecution, the 5 were Embakasi Central MP, Benjamin Gathiru, who is Menjadok, James Gakoya, Embakasi North, his aides, George Theuri, the former member of parliament for Embakasi West, Martin Derrick, Wambugu Ngunjiri, and Pius G. Munene. These individuals are being accused of incitement, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit a felony in connection with recent anti-government protests. Felony is a serious charge, and the intention is not really to go for this gentleman. The intention is to go directly for Rigathi Gachagua's neck. Let me just read for you the entire document by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. It says, it's dated yesterday. It's addressed to Amin, who is the Director of Criminal Investigation. And this is what the letter says. Inquiry into allegations of planning, mobilizing, and financing of violent protests that were witnessed in the country in the recent past. I write with reference to the above subject matter and your letter reference, blah, 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 dated 24th September. You see how effective they are. They received the letter on 24th. By 26th, they had decided, okay, this thing here, please approve, go ahead, the evidence are there. The inquiry file was placed before the Director of Public Prosecution for perusal and direction. Upon careful perusal, the DPP has directed that there is sufficient evidence to charge the suspects with the offense of conspiracy to commit felony contrary to Section 393 of the Penal Code. In addition, a separate inquiry file should be opened for money laundering and financial crimes related offense. The police inquiry file is returned herewith. Very fast. Just like ile Adani, you know, Adani submitted their proposal today. The same day, the KA had approved the proposal. So Kenya can actually be efficient. Anyway, that's not the Kenya we want. But because I've always maintained on this platform that in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence, and that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objectives. Nothing in politics just happen for the sake of it. In this video, I want us to focus on why the DCI and the DPP approved those charges against Rigathi Gachagua's allies. But before you do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to dive in. But again, before I dive in, allow me to also take this opportunity to introduce you guys to LemFi. LemFi is a mobile money app for users in the UK, Canada, and the United States for America to send money to Kenya. They offer the best exchange rates and the money will be delivered instantly into Mpesa account, Airtel Money, and of course, if you want, directly into your bank account. You can use the link in the pinned comment to download the app. Ladies and gentlemen, let us dive in. Why do you think the move to charge Rigathi Gachagua's allies is giving him serious political headache? Because if you paid very close attention today, Rigathi Gachagua was in jam, and the tone of his speech, the body language was very clear. Listen in and pay very close attention to what Rigathi Gachagua is trying to say here so that you can understand where he's coming from.
Ati wabuge wananiuzia uoga ati watanifukuza kwa kazi. Wananiuzia uoga. Si wananiuzia uoga. Mimi naambia hawa. Hii serikali tulipata na shida mingi sana. Na ile chama yetu ya UDA iko na president na deputy president. Na sisi tulichaguliwa tikiti moja. Mimi hapana, rais alinipatia kazi, ni nyinyi. Si ndio? Ni nyinyi ama si nyinyi? Sisi tunasema kama hamutaki Rigathi Gachagua, sasa si UDA itakwisha. Itakwisha haitakwisha? Sasa mimi nauliza wale wanapanga jama pale. Rais wetu na kuomba, hii serikali usiharibu. Hii serikali tulipata pamoja. Hii serikali wacha tutembee pamoja. Wacha tukafanye kazi miaka 3 ile imebaki. Hapo mbele kama uko na maneno ingine unaweza amua. Lakini kwa saa hii mimi nilipewa kura na hii watu ya Kenya. Siko namna hiyo. Wangapi wanasema Rigathi Gachagua alichaguliwa na Wakenya, alichaguliwa na Wakenya? Si ndio? Si ndio? Tukisema harambee, mnasema usiguse mlima. Harambee! 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 Wasiguse mlima, si ndio?
Now that's Rigathi Gachagua. Just yesterday, Rigathi Gachagua was very clear. He issued a strong warning to William Ruto against any attempt to use the criminal justice system in the Republic of Kenya to play politics. And that can inform the tone of his speech today. But why would Rigathi Gachagua get worried that his allies have been charged? Number one, the government of William Ruto and his allies are trying to find the grounds to impeach Rigathi Gachagua. Because so far, they've managed to collect the signatures. But what grounds? Because these grounds will have to be challenged in court. Because Rigathi Gachagua can actually be impeached in parliament, but he can still go to court and challenge those grounds. So these guys are trying to link his allies watertight. Because we all know that in this Republic of Kenya, there's a possibility, because it's a known fact, that William Ruto, for example, is sending money to Dennis Itumbi, or Itumbi is getting money from William Ruto because they are allies. The same way it is possible that Rigathi Gachagua might actually be sending money to Wambugu because Wambugu is doing some works for him. But that can always be used to justify the funding. So they're trying to link Rigathi, money laundering, felony, funding the protest, so that they can find a ground to impeach Rigathi Gachagua. I don't want to dwell much on that because that's self-explanatory. Number two, I think William Ruto is also trying to now use Rigathi Gachagua and his allies to justify police brutality. William Ruto has always had a difficult moment whenever he's out of the country and the question about police brutality comes up. For example, the other day, William Ruto was in New York and he had an interview with CNN, and the questions about police brutality came up. He had to justify that some criminal elements hijacked the process.
Everybody watched what happened in your country not so long ago. You are under a crippling debt, and you were trying to figure out how to repay the IMF debt and others, and you wanted to impose taxes which were very few and scarce actually in Kenya. And it backfired, people came out onto the streets. You know, tried to restore order. There were many people in those protests who were killed. And then you had to walk it all back. So firstly, did you do the wrong thing by sending the troops out against people who were protesting that they couldn't afford these taxes?
For your information, Kenya is a robustly democratic country, and protests are part of our democracy. The freedom of people to associate and to choose what to do. And that is perfectly in order. And restoring law and order is also the responsibility of law enforcement agencies. What was in Nairobi, apart from the protests, were criminal gangs that burned down parliament, burned down the Chief Justice office, burned down people's property. Those, like happens everywhere in the world, had to be managed by our security agencies. And any excesses that may have occurred, there is an independent policing authority that investigates and takes those who may have overstepped their mandate into account. So what happened in Kenya is perfectly in order. We are trying to manage a situation. As you have said yourself, we have serious debt issues. We have
and of course, it was not the first time William Ruto was trying to justify. So the thing is, if it will be proved that Rigathi Gachagua participated in mobilizing the youths, the Gen Zs, then it's going to be very simple. There is the police brutality will be justified because those were now not demonstrations. They were hijacked by criminals. And that is what William Ruto and the team are trying to do, to justify the police brutality by linking the protest not to Kenyans of goodwill, but to criminal elements who hijacked it. So that's number two. Number three, I also tend to think that Ruto and his allies are also trying to scare away other leaders who would want to join Rigathi Gachagua's camp. In Nairobi, for example, the politics there is always very tricky. But Gachagua and the group had a upper hand. So which means another member of parliament from Nairobi, UDA, might be tempted to join that camp. You go to the mountain, where Rigathi Gachagua has actually captured the imagination of the ordinary persons there, then the members of parliament there might want to join Rigathi Gachagua. So how do you scare them away? Deal with those who are already with Rigathi Gachagua. The moment you start dealing with those who are already with Rigathi Gachagua, the other ones will get scared. And that's a very good tactic, which William Ruto is actually using. Number four, in my view, is responsibility for the deaths that occurred during the Gen Z protest. You know, many Kenyans died. Many Kenyans disappeared. Many Kenyans were abducted. The truth is, majority of those people were innocent students, innocent kids. But now we are bringing the element of people hijack the protest. Because I remember in Homa Bay, there was a young man who was just shot by the police as a university student. The one who was killed at the parliament building, just a graduate, had nothing to do with Rigathi Gachagua. Of course, those who died and were buried, and we know 90% of them had nothing to do with Rigathi Gachagua. But now, because they want to justify that these guys, the responsibility must lie somewhere. Because everybody is trying to blame the government for the deaths. But now they are trying to say, okay, these deaths would not have occurred if this gentleman here and his team had not sponsored this protest. These people hijacked the process. So they want to shift the responsibility during the protest to Rigathi Gachagua. I don't know whether Kenyans will buy that, but I think that's something which is now out very clearly. Number five, I think it's also about diverting the attention of the country from the Adani and the Schiff scandals using Gachagua and his allies. The truth of the matter is that in this country today, it's actually crime scene. Kenya is a crime scene. Adani, Schiff, so many. In the headlines today, there was a deal of 485 billion Kenyan shillings. Just a deal. How do you make such kind of a deal in government which is broke? If you are just to take 489 billion and pump it in developing even 5 hospitals in the Republic of Kenya, I mean, Kenyans will be okay. So to divert the attention from these things, because most of these things were rushed. Most of these things, I think they rushed them when they were getting into office. And because they were, normally the thing is you rush, you get everything, because by third year, Kenyans are normally now starting to focus on other things. Some of these deals starts being scrutinized. So they didn't want that. Yeah, they didn't want a situation like that. So they rushed early, but they made lots of mistakes. And these mistakes are catching up with them. So they want now to divert the attention of the country from some of those deals. And lastly, Ruto is out to slow down Rigathi Gachagua. How do you slow down someone? When a tree is standing up here, it has branches. So if you want to cut down the tree, what happens? You don't start by cutting the tree. Otherwise, if you cut the tree, it might even fall on you. So the best strategy is normally to identify the branches, cut all the branches, then you'll weigh where do I let it fall, this side. Because if you leave the branches, weight will be determined by where the branches are. So after cutting all the branches, it will go to the direction you want. That's exactly what William Ruto is trying to do. Nairobi, UDA, Gakuya and the team were taking over. In Mount Kenya today, if you look at it critically, who has a upper hand? Rigathi Gachagua. So by targeting the allies, is being slowed down. I don't know what you think, but that's my take. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.